आज हम बात करेंगे एक ऐसे इंग्रेडिएंट के बारे में, the one ingredient that I never put in my routines. And you always ask for it. You always ask me about hydroquinone. Nipun, why aren't you recommending hydroquinone? Hydroquinone is known for melasma. Review for us Skin Light cream which has hydroquinone, and I don't do it. There's a reason why I don't do it. It's a spicy, strong ingredient.
Correct.
And it needs to be used under supervision. There's a concentration you need to use. There's a timeline for it. And today we're going to talk about it. And at the outset, let me tell you that everybody doesn't need it, right? We just spoke about all of the OTC ingredients that can work really well. Your retinoids with compounded ingredients like azelaic acid, niacinamide. I'm doing a plug here by Illic. That works really well. I use this all the time because I have acne prone skin and acne lesion marks. So everybody doesn't need hydroquinone, but if you do, and you will know that you need it if your skin looks something like this. If your skin looks like this, you may need hydroquinone, and today we're going to talk all about it, facts, myths, and do's and don'ts. Dr. Summer, what is hydroquinone? Explain it as best as you can.
So hydroquinone is basically the gold standard for the treatment of pigmentation. It's the strongest thing that you can use. However, as you said, it can have some side effects, so it should only be used under the supervision of a dermatologist. Oftentimes, or most of the time, what I do is I combine it with two other ingredients, and this is called the Kligman formula. So in 1975, Kligman and Willis, they created what is called the triple combination, which is composed of hydroquinone with tretinoin and with a mild steroid. So why the other two ingredients? Basically, retinoid will help for a better penetration of the hydroquinone. It will also or slow down the oxidation of the hydroquinone, so it will make it last longer. And we saw that in the previous video that tretinoid also has brightening effects.
Correct.
And why the steroid? Because it will help to reduce the irritation that can occur with the two other ingredients. Now, some patients worry, they tell me, can I apply steroid on the face and for like a few months? And the answer is yes, because there were a lot of studies that have been done on this triple combination, and there were minimal side effects that are related to the steroid, meaning atrophy and other problems. So yes, it is safe as long as it is used for a specific period of time and under supervision.
I had no idea about this triple combination, and I just realized that a lot of the creams that we see in pharmacies, specifically in India, Skin Light, Melalite, whatever light creams, actually have this exact same combination. So they do have a retinoid, which is tretinoin, mostly in 0 point some concentration, and then they would have hydroquinone, and then they'd have some complicated steroid that I can never pronounce.
So yeah, there are basically modified formulas where they're not using the exact same steroid or the exact same concentration of the hydroquinone as the Kligman formula, but these also work. But of course, I stress on the fact that it should be under supervision.
Okay, so fact number one, under supervision. And now we need to bust a myth, because I'm from India, as you know, and unfortunately, we're a country still obsessed with fairness at different levels. I don't know why pharma companies like to put fairness cream, lightening cream on creams which are actually medical treatments. Can hydroquinone make you fairer?
So hydroquinone works better on overactive melanocytes. So it works better on skin conditions like melasma, like post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Can it also help to even out the skin tone? It can, but again, I mean, it will not change your skin tone. So
exactly,
it will help to even it out, yes, but don't expect to become
like the Fair and Lovely ad. Like you wouldn't go from dark light to That's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen, right? Thank God somebody said it, because I've always seen these creams, and it's very common. I've heard of brides using them on their body, hands and feet, right?
And they use too much, and they end up with irritation and worsening of the pigmentation.
And that's the fact number 3 you need to know. This is a treatment and not a moisturizer. So talk us through the process. So when a client comes to you, when a patient comes to you with intense melasma, for example, you're putting him or her on this particular product.
Yes.
how would you advise them to proceed? What are the do's and don'ts?
So I always recommend to start this cream. Most creams I would recommend to start gradually. By gradually, I mean, for example, the first week they can use it twice per week, then 3 times, then 4 times, and then eventually, if they tolerate it every night, then that's great.
Okay.
I would also recommend using a moisturizer after. This would help to reduce the irritation, and of course, sunscreen in the morning. And keep in mind that this treatment is prescribed for few months, so it varies according to the dermatologist.
And what is the maximum duration?
I would say not more than 6 months. I personally don't go for the 6 months, but there are some derms who prescribe it for up to 6 months.
So 3 months, would that be optimal?
2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months,
yes.
Take a break, and then what will you do when you're in your break phase? You go back to OTC?
Exactly. So you use the
Arbuteins, Kojic,
niacinamide,
etc. You didn't see the last video. You need to go back. She gave us a whole lot of ingredients and a routine that I gave actually, but she agrees to it, which is pretty cool. And yeah, so you can go back to that video. But like hydroquinone is for melasma, intense hyperpigmentation, post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation, things like that, where you need something really strong. And the biggest reason why you need to be under the care of a derm, why you shouldn't just go to a pharmacy and pick it up, is because you overuse it, or you use it incorrectly. You use it like in terrible ways. What could happen? You spoke us about that gray skin phenomena.
Yes, so there's something called ochronosis. Ochronosis is basically when you develop these bluish, grayish patches on your skin. We see it in a very rare genetic disease called alkaptonuria, but we can also see it due to external factors. And in such cases, we call it exogenous ochronosis. So it can happen with prolonged or incorrect use of hydroquinone. And studies have shown that in most cases, it happened when patients were using it on their own without medical supervision. So what happens is that the color will become darker, and then it's harder to treat because what will happen is that there will be deposits of something called homogenesic acid in the deeper layer of the skin. Okay. When it's deeper, it's harder to treat. So then it's even more difficult to treat than the melasma per se. And we all know melasma is hard to treat.
Yeah. So don't give yourself more problems. Basically, that's what she's saying. And I think you're right. And I've also been really, really scared of this ingredient, not to use because I didn't have the need to use it, but primarily every time you Google hydroquinone, then the first result is side effects.
Yeah, but I have to say, we do, as dermatologists, we do use it a lot. I don't want to scare people. Yeah. It's an excellent ingredient. You just have to do it under supervision, but don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it. I think that is, and that's all about being an aware consumer, right? There are certain things you can do yourself. There are certain things I can help you, YouTube can help you, doctors on YouTube can help you, and there's certain things you really need to go visit the clinic or get onto our website, which is illic.com and illichealth.com. And you might think this is like a promotion plug, and yes, it is, but this is not like a paid promotion plug. I wrote this in my long post on Instagram that if I ever promote Illic, no money has been exchanged, because when I find a business or a brand that I truly believe in, I'm going to push it to the hilt, and Illic is one such brand. What is beautiful about Illic is that the prescription, and for most people it's about like getting a doctor's appointment, which in some cases, in some countries, case in point UAE, can be very expensive. Our insurance doesn't cover dermatology, ophthalmology, and dental. So basically, insurance says bad teeth, bad eyes, bad skin, you live. So no worries. So that is where companies like Illic are very special, because they have partnerships with pharmacists, chemists. So they are controlling the production, and that is where they have full control. They are working with derms, such as yourself, right? And I really want to know about the Illic formula. And I was just speaking to Dina Sadani, who is the founder. I was like, I really want to try the melasma formula, but I don't know where to try it.
She doesn't even have melasma. And
but I really want to try because I was like, this is such a cool formula, and I want you guys to hear it from Dr. Summer. Tell us about the formula, please.
So basically, we have different creams that we can prescribe for pigmentation. As we said, the gold standard is the triple combination. So we do have the combination, which is made up of hydroquinone, tretinoin, and hydrocortisone, which is a steroid.
That's right, yeah.
Of course, we usually prescribe it for a few months, and then during the break period, we prescribe other ingredients. For example, we have a cream that has tretinoin, it has niacinamide, tranexamic acid, another one with azelaic. So depending on the patient, on their sensitivity, we can play with the percentages, we can play with the ingredients.
Fabulous. All of you guys are in the UAE. Are we shipping to KSA? Not yet. but we will be, hopefully, very soon. With all of your love, blessings, and support, Ilik is going to go global, and then all of you will get the nice products. But until then, if you're in the UAE, you're struggling with melasma, you're struggling with hyperpigmentation, you've been doing some OTC routines, you've been doing any of my routines, and you still feel that you're at the last leg and you need that final push, get onto the website. They've got a really simple form. You fill it up, you get it in a nice pretty box. I am actually blending in with Ilik's colors today.
You are.
And I did it on purpose. I did it on purpose. I was like, listen, why not? I don't do these kind of things. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to match my clothes and I'm going to try and match the background if I could. But no, that wasn't possible. So thank you so much. So we've looked at the three things. Now let's just also look at concentrations, because OTC, even in Dubai, I have seen 4% available. Is it strong? Is it less? What's the highest that you go?
So you can go up to 8%, 10%. I personally go up to 4% because it has been shown to be very effective and less irritating than the higher percentages. So the formula that we have for Ilik is actually a 4% hydroquinone. You can go low to 2%, but the 4% is definitely more effective.
Okay, so 4% hydroquinone works, and it's not like it's ineffective, etc.
It works for sure.
It works for sure. So that's another thing. Higher is not always better, guys. You can always opt in for a concentration that is not the highest, but when it's combined with other ingredients, such as a retinoid, such as the steroid that helps, you can definitely get benefits from it.
I'll say one more thing. When it comes to melasma, unfortunately, there's no cure. And when we say there's no cure, it doesn't mean that there will be no point in time where it's clear. It can definitely be cleared. However, there's always and I know, like, I'm sad saying this, but that's the truth. There's always a risk it might come back. So what I tell my patients, maintenance is key. That's why when you're not using the hydroquinone, even if you have nothing, you have to be using these other ingredients that will help to reduce the risk of the melasma
coming back. In fact, that's a great point, because I've always read this in my comment section that I used something, it got okay, and it came back. And I always thought that was like a issue with, the products not being effective or something like that. So it's not. It could just come back on its own.
Yes, because usually no one is super consistent with their sunscreen, with their sun. It takes one bad visit to the beach or one bad exposure when you didn't have enough sunscreen to make it come back, really. So it's really that delicate.
I remember I had just done a regular facial, and this is years ago. And then I was out in the sun. And I was wearing sunscreen, but it had been about 2 hours. And I was freaking out in my head. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get melasma. I'm going to get melasma. I didn't get melasma. I was lucky, but you're right. It could just be anything. Plus there are triggers, right? Hormones is like a big thing. It could be thyroid. Does thyroid also tend to?
It's more of the female hormones, especially, for example, in women who take oral contraceptive pills. So this is also another risk factor. And of course, sun exposure. And I have to say, genetics do play a role. So not everyone will get melasma. So
it's not that. It's not the demonizing ingredient. And I think you're right. All of the stuff that we've seen is around people misusing it, overusing it, etc. And guys, here at this point, without taking any names, I need to refer you back to a lot of creators back home who have shown this as fairness creams, right? We all know who they are. It's not a fairness cream. Like Dr. Summer said, it can even out your skin tone, which means if you have pigmentation, if you have like tanning, or if you have any of those things, it'll get rid of that. But it's gonna take you to your original skin color at best. Whatever you were at the time of your birth, that's your skin tone. You're not changing it. And we should talk about glutathione maybe in another video. Leave me a comment if you want one. And if this video was helpful and we could reduce your fear, at least reduce a part of my fear, hit the subscribe button, leave me a comment. I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Bye.